Hey everybody! I don't have a new sausage making video this week because I don't know about you, but I only get one weekend a week and some things just won't hold on for another week, like all these ripe tomatoes. So this weekend, it is time to make the sauce. I'm going to show you how I make and can tomato sauce to preserve all that sun-soaked sweetness all year round. It's easy to do, and everyone's going to love it. So let's get started. I've got all my beautiful ripe tomatoes rinsed off, so now it's time to peel the tomatoes. I understand if you have a food mill that this is not a necessary step, but I do not or have not ever had a food mill, so I still peel my tomatoes. And to do that, I'm just going to score the skin with a little X, just barely cut into them, and I'll drop those into some boiling water just for up to a minute. Then we let them cool off, and as they cool, the skins are going to loosen up, and I'll be able to pull them right off of there with my hands. If you run into some ugly ones, no problem. Just cut that ugly bit off and pitch it. As long as the rest of that is a good tomato, it can go right in the pot. Now we're up to the sloppy part. Because once these things are cool enough to handle, you can pull those skins right off there. And now you can cut out your cores. Whoop! And those go right into the sauce pot. Now the hard part is finished, so we are going to start cooking these down nice and low and slow. Just barely a simmer. If you go too hard and fast, you do risk scalding the bottom, and that's going to throw off the flavor. We're just going to gently evaporate off a lot of the water that's in here. When I get about halfway through, I will puree these and then continue to cook them down until it is as thick as I want, and that is really up to you. And make sure when you're cooking them, you're using a stainless steel pot rather than an aluminum pot. The acid in these tomatoes is going to react with aluminum, and that can really throw off your flavor. So you want to use stainless or ceramic coated cast iron is fine as well. Just something that's not going to react with the acid. This is going to take a little while. We'll check in here and there. And of course, I'll be stirring this from time to time to keep the bottom from scalding. You can start crushing these tomatoes down by whatever means are available at any point during the cook. You're not actually going to know how thick it is until you get your tomatoes all crushed or pureed or blended, or however you choose to smash them. I'm just going to use this little immersion blender and get them started, and then we'll continue to cook this down. This is coming along really nicely. It's getting down there, still a little while to go, but it's time to get my pint jars sanitized, so I'm going to get them over here, get them boiling, and by the time those are done, hopefully this will be ready to go. It's been about an hour of cooking this down. It is not quite where I want it to be yet, but it is getting close. So we'll just keep an eye on it and let it keep rolling along. Now that is looking saucy. So once it's gotten right about down to where you want it to be as far as thickness, that is the time where you want to add your salt if you choose to do so. I like to add in a little bit of salt, not a whole bunch, because as my good friend Emerald says, you can always add, but you can never take away. But a little bit of salt does improve the flavor. And if I wanted to add some fresh herbs or even some dry herbs, now's the time when I would add those in as well. That way, you know how it's going to taste when it's finished. Rather than adding those in at the beginning and cooking them all the way down, you kind of don't know where you're going to end up. The only exception is if I were to want to add onions and garlic, I would saute those first and throw them in right at the beginning and puree that with everything else. But this sauce is good to go. My jars are ready, so let's load them up. Jars are filled up. Of course, you want to leave some head space, so just fill them up right to the bottom of the threads there, kind of just over the shoulders of the jar. And now we need to acidify these for safety, so I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid to each pint jar. I'll give those a little swirl-a-roo with a chopstick. I'll bring in the lids, which have also been boiled. And I've got a little white vinegar here, a paper towel, just to clean up the rim of these jars. Make sure we get a good seal on them. Okay, now lids on. Now we get the rings on there. Just want to seat them down, snug them up. Don't wrench them on there really tightly, because some air does need to escape from these jars to get a good vacuum. Alright, we're all good. Let's get these into the canner. Everything's nice and hot when you go back into your hot canner. You're going to reduce the chance of breaking any of those jars. And then you want to make sure they are completely submerged by at least 1 inch of water. Now this is not pressure canning, even though I'm using my pressure cooker pot here. We're just water bath canning these. So once this comes up to a nice steady boil, I'll set a timer. We'll let these boil 35 minutes and then we'll be done. These are all cooled down now, and there's just a quick final check before they get put up. You want to take off all the rings. Give everybody a little poke on top to make sure they've sealed up. And finally, just give them a little lift make sure that all the lids are secure. And this is the way you want to store them, with just the lid and not the ring. That way you'll know if that seal ever gets broken during storage, because that lid won't be able to reseat itself without the ring on there. They do look great. Nice and saucy, and no separation there. And they've been sitting here overnight, so I think they'll stay this way. But if you do get that separation when a lot of that tomato water gathers up on top, that's not a big deal. You just need to cook it down a little longer in whatever recipe you're making. Now, I am not going to open one of these up to try it, because that would defeat the entire purpose of canning. I already know this sauce tastes like pure, concentrated, sweet, sun-ripened tomatoes. And it's so much better than anything you're gonna find at a grocery store without spending a small fortune. And when it's the middle of February and you crack into one of these, you are gonna taste that summer sunshine, and that is the beauty of making your own. Thanks for watching.